Hello everyone and welcome back to another Voluminous Energy changelog video. So this video is for the 0.2 changelog, and we're here in this pretty interesting world here. If you want the seed, I can give you the seed right here. There we go. And as you can see, we got a interesting weird little village here that has buildings stacked on top of buildings and caverns. Yeah, buildings on top of buildings. Anyways, off topic. Here we have this update, and this update is, depending on how you look at it, it can be big or small. If you prefer just sticking with the content that was in 0.1, this update's still worth updating to, obviously, since there's a lot of bug fixes and stability improvements. Otherwise, there's a couple interesting changes, and some of these changes are really to make the game more like how the game is going to work in 1.17 and in the future. And so I'm just here to really kind of just demonstrate some of the changes, and I'm going to start with ore changes. So with ores, you can see that yeah, you get the raw ore now if you don't use Silk Touch. Now this is just like how you'd expect this to work in 1.17, so everything is updated now. Everything gives you the raw ore, and you can actually see this is something else here, and we'll get to this one in a second. And yeah, and if you start putting fortune here, you can see fortune does take effect. This is one of the reasons why they changed to raw ores in vanilla, is that fortune didn't previously apply. And you can see that fortune now applies obviously to the raw ore, and certain ores such as galena and cinnabar, if you have at least a fortune 1 enchantment, you can also get raw sulfur. So if you need more sulfur for whatever you need sulfur for, maybe more in other mods that you might play alongside Voluminous Energy with, you can get even more sulfur than before, because in Voluminous Energy there's no sulfur ore. I don't really think there's a need for sulfur ore, because there's plenty of other ways to get sulfur. Yeah, there you go. You can see sulfur from cinnabar there. Rutile doesn't give sulfur. Galena gives sulfur. And yeah, this is still applying fortune here. So this is fortune 1. This is the fortune 3 pick. Yeah. And this is Silk Touch. And just to show you guys, Silk Touch still works. And it still gives you the ore, just like you'd expect in vanilla. Oh, that's a bug. Yeah, don't get Azo with Silk Touch. I need to fix that because that gives you bauxite. Yeah, so yeah, I guess there's going to be a patch for that then. Good to know. Anyways, yeah, so basically the main point is everything except for Azo in this version. This is 0.2.0.0, so I'm probably going to do a quick patch after this video. Azo is Silk Touch, don't do that until that's patched. Yeah, those are the ore changes. Just to put it in line with 1.17, I've seen other mods starting to do this as well. This is a great idea for Mojang. I like this idea that fortune, and as a contingency, if you're curious about the recipes, if we go into the crusher here, you can just see here. Yeah, it just it's treated as if it was an ore, not an. So if you're interested from the technical perspective, the item tag registers both, let's say, the actual ore item and the raw ore item, but the block, the tag, the forge tag for the block still only has the galena ore block or whatever ore you're looking at, right? So, and looking at this menu here, since we're here in JEI, there is a lot of improvements with some of the quirkiness in JEI since I've cleaned that up. That was one of the first things I've done, actually, is cleaned up some of the issues. So you can see this is now rendering properly. I've actually taken the time to fix the rendering here of these. The compressor didn't have an issue. Combustion had issues, I think, on servers. I believe that's fixed from what I've seen. I haven't done that much testing with this version compared to previous versions, but from what I've seen, this is mostly fine now with the combustion generation. That's what I mean by a lot of the features that were in 0.1 that were slightly buggy have been patched around and improved a little bit. So this should work now, and you should also have that graphical glitch when you reload the same world over and over again. And I know that this world, this is actually a testing world that I've done for testing. You would previously, if you load a world multiple times, you'd start seeing graphical glitches with the combustion generation there. But that has been fixed. Otherwise, nothing much else to say, other than we have 3 new machines here. So let's talk about these machines. Centrifugal Separator. This does centrifugal separation. And you can see that we have some new dusts as well. Flint dust, for example. Gravel. This is another way to get raw sulfur is from gravel if you put it through the centrifugal separator. You can also see glowstone dust. So if you take flint dust, you can get quartz. So you don't have to go to the nether to get quartz, which also means you don't have to go to the nether to make a quartz multiplier now. So if you don't like mods that gate you behind the nether, a lot of the content from 0.1 and earlier, you don't need the nether anymore, since this is one of the few things that you need. So you can grab flint. Flint you can get from, obviously, flint in the crusher now. So that makes a lot of sense. And when you get flint dust, you can grind it up and you can get sand guaranteed and quartz, a bunch of quartz, and some chances to get sulfur and even iron from flint. Glowstone, great way to get a gold and redstone. This isn't in line with other mods that have something similar to the centrifugal separator. Netherrack dust, chance to get a gold nugget from 16 dusts. So that's like what is that? So that's 8 blocks, right? So you need 8 blocks of netherrack. Netherrack's not useless, at least, right? Carbon dust. Carbon dust is pretty important to get those carbon bricks. And in mid to late game, when you're starting to do aluminum tier machines, carbon dust is pretty important. So just making it easier to get carbon rather than just grinding a billion coal. That's kind of the goal with this release, is to make it make more options to get carbon dust, since it's annoying just to burn all your coal on getting carbon, right? Especially since carbon's not 100% chance to get from crushing coal and pet coke and all that stuff. I found that it's more worth it to create, let's say, coke and then grind that up, because at least you can get better equalized fuel from that, right? If you put it through the equalizer and then use the combustion generator, so at least it's not waste. But more options to get carbon dust. That should be less annoying. Soul sand dust. Soul sand has been a little bit rebalanced to be more based on carbon, so you don't get saltpeter when you do it through the crusher anymore, when you run it through the crusher. But obviously, some other mods in the past, you might have seen recipes along the lines of, you can get a little bit of oil from soul sand, but the problem is compared to that geyser that you see over there in the background, is it really easier to get oil from a lot of soul sand versus going to a geyser and putting a pump on it, right? It's an option there, but obviously I would most people would still probably just look out for an oil geyser or maybe an oil lake to get started. Magma cream, separate for blaze powder and slime ball, just to get back. And getting things back is also another purpose of the other machine that's been added, which is the Implosion Compressor. So what is the Implosion Compressor's goal here? The goal of the Implosion Compressor is basically to use explosive forces to compress something back into its original form, right? So in this case, quartz. If you blow it up, basically using the implosion forces, you can get nether quartz back. So you can get nether quartz, as I said, without having to go to the nether. Kind of ironic, but because this is just quartz dust. I didn't obviously how that works. You get gravel, right? Run it through the centrifugal separator, get those quartz dust, and then you can use the implosion compressor to get quartz back. So if you really don't want to go to the nether, or you're playing a mod pack where the nether is just basically hell, and you really don't enjoy going to the nether, this is kind of a way to get around that. So yeah, Voluminous Energy giving you more options. That's kind of one of the point of the mod, is to give, maybe some unorthodox options to change your playstyle. That's kind of one of the goals of this mod. Yeah, Flint, obviously, you can go back to Flint dust from Flint. Yeah, and there's no like positive feedback loop. It's all balanced here. Let's go back to implosion compressing here. A coal dust back to coal. That's kind of the point here. Coke dust back to coal coke. This does mean you can get 2 coal coke from pet coke. Whether or not you like that or not, I mean, worst case scenario, you can just write a Cube.js script or something to remove that recipe if you're a mod pack developer, right? It's not hard. This version obviously works with Cube.js and Craftweaker. I've tried both at this point, and they work. Netherite dust, yes. So netherite, you can now use Voluminous Energy for basically ore doubling netherite at this point. So yeah, you have to use the Implosion Compressor to go from the dust back to the scrap. And the reason is if you run ancient debris through the crusher, right, you get 2 netherite dust. So that's where the ore doubling is coming from. And I guess this recipe wasn't here because I didn't really think about it when I was porting the mod originally from 1.15 to 1.16. But yeah, this mod's definitely a bit more forward-looking to 1.17, and things that should be here from the 1.16 update that have been left out are here now, because obviously ancient debris, that's like a big thing about 1.16. You can now process that in Voluminous Energy. And yeah, another thing here, this is just to kind of provide a bit more options with Voluminous Energy. This is more forward looking to a future update, is the blast furnace. So steel is now a resource in Voluminous Energy. There's no real usage for steel at the moment. This is still something that is probably going to come in the future update, more uses for steel. And as you may expect, this is iron and carbon, so not too surprising. And obviously how the blast furnace works is that you need a heat source. And at least right now in Voluminous Energy, there's only lava. So, this feature is not really, it's functional. It absolutely is 100% functional, but there's no real need for this right now in this version. I am exploring like an extension to Voluminous Energy that can use these, let's say, in Tinkerers. I'm not sure if I'll go through with that because I'm having some technical difficulties trying to get that up and running. But yeah, this might be more useful for a plugin or an extension built on Voluminous Energy, or in the future in like a 0.3 update when I add like another tier of machines or something, then these materials may become a little bit more useful. Now that said, these materials are not completely useless, and this functionality does work, but I don't have like a hotter fuel source or hotter like fluid source yet, so these are all just 900 Kelvin. The game on the back end obviously operates in Kelvin, and then we have conversions here to Celsius and Fahrenheit for those who prefer those units. I'm personally fine with Kelvin, but I know most people aren't. So yeah, I just left everything at 900 Kelvin because I believe lava by default is 1300 Kelvin in Minecraft, and most fluids are registering as 300 Kelvin, which is 27 degrees Celsius. So that's pretty toasty for like an average person, right? But yeah, for blast furnacing, lava 1300. So these are kind of more temporary. If I add a hotter source in the future, that would give more options. But this is just how it is right now in this version. And yeah, so steel is one of the new materials. You use steel for alloying with tungsten to get tungsten steel. And tungsten is a new resource in this version of Voluminous Energy. And tungsten you get from endstone. So this does require the end, and that's one of your options. If you don't want to go to the end, you do have an alternative option, generally speaking, when we talk about like tools and stuff, and that is Nihilite. And the difference with Nihilite is that you don't need to go to the end for Nihilite, but you're going to need that netherite, which we have ore doubling now, so it's not as bad, but netherite is still not easy to get, and you alloy that with obsidian. Kind of inspiration from, I believe it's pronounced Hepatizen, I'm not sure, from Tinkers. So that's kind of this equivalent here. And alloying Nihilate with Azo, which is another end material. So you got another material alloying with an end material here. This one you get, as you saw from the ore that I had down there before when I was demonstrating the changes to the ore loot. Azo and Nihilate alloys to a single Solarium ingot. And Solarium is the top tier. It's this interesting metal that that has very weird erratic colors, ranging from green to yellow to purple, and based on the reflection of the light and how you cut the metal and stuff like that, right? Yeah, this is definitely from an inspiration from a former mod, Taiga in particular, but with my own spin and my own implementation. So hopefully there's nothing wrong there with using the same name. Otherwise, Solarium is the top tier. That's what you saw here. I was using Solarium. Solarium is it's definitely top tier stuff. It's the best material you can get if you have Voluminous Energy installed. This counts as I believe this can't. Look at that durability. You got quite a bit of durability on here compared to some of the other materials here. Right. So the carbon shovel, for example, or all the carbon tools, I believe these are much more in line with gold. Okay, apparently we have some more bugs with this. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. So I guess some of the tools are still a bit bugged, but what about tungsten? Tungsten shovel's bugged. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna take a look at what's going on here with the tools, because for some reason they're all pulling the Solarium stats. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's definitely gonna be a patch now. Yeah, so basically just exploring some bugs in this release, essentially. Other things that have been added, so one of the things that affect World Gen, so there's a bunch of fixes with the Red Desert. Red Deserts will now have desert permits. So yeah, if you thought Red Deserts were completely useless before, you can now get a pyramid here. You can also get stronghold spawning in Red Deserts, because that wasn't a thing before. You couldn't have a stronghold spawn in a Red Desert. Villages can now spawn in Red Deserts. That's also one of the fixes, is that they can spawn in here now. And I think there was something else that was fixed. Villages, strongholds, pyramids, and yeah, I think that's mostly it. And yeah, this is the other thing that I want to show off, is that there's a new crop here. This is a water crop, and this is rice, right? So rice you can plant, and it will grow in the water. So this is a water crop, and over time it'll grow up, and when it ages, basically, you can simply right-click on it. You don't need any mods to do this, and it'll give you the crop, or you can break it, let's say in survival, just hitting the bottom in creative, and you'll get the item back. But even in survival, if you punch the top there, you'll get the seed back, right? So that's pretty good. And if you take this to a furnace, there's a pyramid. Yeah, so there's a village. So if we go back over here and stick this into my furnace, we will get basically cooked rice, which is edible. This is non-edible. This is basically, you just have to plant this, basically. And then when you go back to the furnace here, so I'm just going to use a gas furnace, you can cook it up and get cooked rice here. And then this is a food that you can eat. The properties of cooked rice is basically on par with baked potatoes, so yeah, it's a decent option, especially if you're in a body of water. You know, it might be just easier. You can see there's another rice there and another one over there. yeah, it might be just easier if you're on an island or something to just grow rice, since it takes less land and you can just put it in the water. And I think you should also be able to run a boat through rice without issue. Let's try that real quick. There's actually 2 rice here in this bay. Yeah. So let's just grab this here. And if I run through this, yeah, you just run right through it. It doesn't pop off like seaweed. Seaweed. I didn't mean to say seaweed. It doesn't pop off like lily pads. That's what I meant to say. So yeah, so that's an alternative to, let's say, potatoes or some other food that you might make, because this is a nice food that you can just grow in the ocean, grow in the water, essentially, and not have to worry about it taking land space. Especially, as I said, useful if, let's say, you're doing it on an island and you don't want to go underground and you don't want to waste too much land on growing crops. Yeah. Otherwise, so we covered the implosion compressor, the centrifugal separator, and the blast furnace. We did discover some bugs with tools and stuff, so I'll take a look at that and probably issue a patch in the future. And yeah, don't mind Azo with Silk Touch in this version. Keep that in mind. But otherwise, that's basically it for this update, other than just saying, yeah, there's a bunch of polishing here with the JEI menus and stuff, and some of the desync issues should be fixed at this point. That was mostly bad on servers, but some people had problems in single player as well. So that should be hopefully fixed in this version. Otherwise, yeah, most of the content from 0.1, I was pretty correct on that analysis, is, more stable. And yes, some of the stuff in 0.2, some of the 0.2 content, yeah, needs a little few patches, but is mostly functional. These machines are mostly functional, so that's good. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys on the next episode, I guess. And otherwise, that's it for this video. So I hope this update is pretty good. Hopefully it fixes all the issues that you might have had in the previous version. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.